Welcome to MATH1131 Mathematics 1A and MATH1141 Higher Mathematics 1A. I'm Jonathan Kress, Director of First Year Mathematics here in the School of Mathematics and Statistics at UNSW, and
I'm Daniel Mansfield. Don't have a fancy title. We're here to welcome you to the course and explain to you about the assessment structure for the course, as well as a few things that you need to know.
One thing I might just point out, we've got this all new symbol up here. This is because we've changed things around quite a bit, so make sure you check the information before you assume that everything's just like last year.
Yeah, so if you're asking your friend, hey, what's Math 1A like? It's changed a bit since your friend did it last.
Yeah. Okay, so the main thing to know is that we now have weeks from 1 to 10, and there are things happening in all of those weeks. There's lectures, there's classroom tutorials, and there's online tutorials in all of those weeks. So you need to find out where they are pretty soon and make sure you get to the first things you have to do in week 1.
Yes. Also, we should talk about whether or not you are in the right course, the course that is correct for you, that is. So it largely depends on what your mathematical education has been like up until now. So,
okay, so there's Math1131. We have both courses cover all the same topics essentially, but Math1131 covers the topics in sort of more concrete way where we just explain how to do them, what you need to do for these and for future years. Math1141 is the higher course. There's a lot more on understanding the mathematics behind it. We use more sophisticated examples, perhaps more diverse, and a lot more proofs of things in the lectures. And we would recommend that for both courses you should have done the HSC Extension 1 Mathematics course or something equivalent in a different state or country. For Math1131, probably need a combined mark of about 100 out of 150 or better for that. And for the higher course, we'd probably recommend you doing Extension 1 and 2 with a mark of 175 out of 200 or greater. If you've only done the HSC Mathematics, the 2-unit course, and got 85 out of 100 or more, then you're probably okay in Math1131. If you're not sure about all of this, perhaps get in touch and ask for some advice. It's also possible to do Math1011 Fundamentals of Mathematics course in Term 1 and then Math1131 in Term 2, and that might be a good option if your mathematical background isn't quite enough for 1131.
Or if it's been a long time since you've done mathematics and you'd like to brush up before tackling 1131. One more thing, if you've done Extension 1 but not Extension 2 and your mark is very high, like 145 out of 150, then you might like to consider Mathematics 1A.
The higher Mathematics 1A.
Thank you, the higher Mathematics 1A. The real difference between the subjects is, as Jonathan said, the depth to which things are covered. They're equivalent subjects. As far as your university career is concerned, they are the same subject. It's just how deep do you want to go? In terms of scaling, you always get asked about scaling.
Oh yes. That's
let's
my next favourite question.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of common tasks between the two different courses, and we look at how students perform in each of those tasks and essentially use those to benchmark the tasks that are not in common, so that if you're somewhere in the middle of the range, sort of a credit distinction, then you probably would get the same mark in either course if you sort of can cope with the higher course. But you probably find it harder going if you're definitely down near the bottom of just passing. You will really struggle in the higher course and should definitely do the ordinary course. If you're really right up the top and want a bit extra, you probably find the Math1131 course a little bit easy, and maybe better off to have a bit of a challenge in the higher course.
But it's certainly not the case that just by enrolling in higher you somehow get more marks. That's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
Right, course pack.
Course pack, yes. So there is a course pack. It's available on Moodle and you can buy it from the bookshop. I'd probably recommend a lot of you to buy the one from the bookshop. It's good to have a paper copy in front of you for some of these things. You can also download it from Moodle. You can have both, but you really do need to get hold of it. It contains sort of complete notes for the course, doesn't it?
Yes. So we have all the material is covered in detail, as well as questions that you will be using in your classroom tutorials.
Yeah, and there's a calculus set of notes and an algebra set of notes. And there's some Maple notes. So the algebra and calculus are covered in the lectures and tutorials. Maple is only in the online tutorials, but there's a set of notes for that.
Yeah, we should talk about Maple as well,
Yes.
because that's going to be new. People know what calculus and algebra are and why they're in a math course, but what is Maple and why is it
I
in
might
the
just
course?
say that a lot of students don't actually really know what the algebra is. All the linear algebra is new to most students, and it's a different type of maths that you probably haven't seen, and it's extremely important for engineering and all sorts of applications. But the Maple is the thing that falls through the cracks a bit, because at school you probably didn't use computers for doing much of your calculations, but out there in the wild, in the real world, no one really does calculations except on a computer these days. All of the hand calculations are really just done so you understand it, you can figure out what you need to ask the computer to do. So it's really important to get to use some sort of computer software to do some mathematics. There's lots of different possibilities, and the one we're using in this course is Maple. It doesn't really matter which one you learn how to use; they're all pretty similar.
All the same.
Maple is the one we're using here. There are resources on Moodle, and there'll be some sort of part of the assessment on that. But it's important to take that pretty seriously, because it's a big part of the world out there now.
If you're actually going to do maths as part of your career, then it will be with some computer language, and you may as well learn one of them. And they're all pretty much the same anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Assessment structure.
Assessment structure. Okay, this has changed a bit since last year. So now you can see we've got a little schedule here of when all the assessment is. There's weekly online tutorials which do count a little bit towards the assessment, and they're not drawn up here because they happen every single week. You don't have to remember when they are; they're all the time.
They're due at the end of each week. So at the end of week 1, at close to midnight, at exactly midnight.
1 minute to
1 minute to midnight. Okay, at 1 minute to midnight it'll be due. So make sure you do it before then, and give yourself plenty of time to do that. So here at the end of week 1, there'll be the first.
That's Sunday night.
And then there'll be another one due here, and the final one will be due at the end of week 10. So 10 online tutorials all up.
Yeah, and we're only going to count the best 8 out of those 10, and they'll count 10% of your mark. But basically, these are really tutorials. They're not really assessments and quizzes. Yeah. We just get a little bit of marks to encourage, a bit of encouragement.
Yeah, just to reward you for doing a bit of work every week.
Yeah, but these are mostly designed to help you understand the material as you go.
Yeah, you should be expecting to get full marks for all of these things.
Yes. In fact, the majority of students get full marks for all of those. Yes. So then there is some other assessments. So there's 2 places where you come into the lab and do similar types of questions, probably a little bit more straightforward and direct questions than the online tutorials. And they'll happen in weeks 4 to 5 and 8 to 9. So this R here is when you should register a time to do this. There'll be lots of times throughout weeks 4 and 5 when you can go to the lab and do that test. And you'll be given the questions before, probably in week 3. You can practice those questions as much as you like. And again, you should be aiming to get a pretty high mark in that, maybe sort of 80% or something like that. So that's weeks 4 to 5 and weeks 8 to 9. All the questions will be available online beforehand, so there's not going to be any surprises about what's in the test. You'll be able to practice them and it's really just to come along and show us that you've figured out how to do them.
And make sure you register early as well. You don't want to register, leave it till Sunday night and find out the only available slot is Monday morning. So make sure you do register to find it.
It's worse than that. Some students will come and ask me around about here in week 5 and say, when's their available time? And I say, yes, it was Monday of week 4. So yes, register early for this test. Then there's also an assignment. This is indicated here. It'll be due at the end of week 7, and sort of released in week 5. There'll be details about this on Moodle, but the assignment will be where you sort of write up longer, more complete answers, and then get some feedback on that. And this will be one thing that'll be a little bit new is we'll ask you to actually type your answers, in a Microsoft Word or maybe some other system, LaTeX if you're keen, and you'll have to actually present a well-written solution to the assignment.
Perhaps the other part that's new. We don't really care in the assignment if you have the right answer or not. It's really about how you explain yourself and your mathematical writing.
Yeah, that's a very important thing because math. A lot of students who like maths, they love it. It's rewarding. They just like to get their hands on a problem. But probably if you ever got a job involved maths, someone else would want to know
how you got there,
what your answer, what you've been doing, and you need to be able to communicate it.
Yeah. So it's an important skill, much like being able to use a computer to do mathematics. So we're really asking you to do a bit more in this course than just get at the right answer. We're asking you to use machines and to express yourself in mathematics.
Okay, so this assignment here, everyone will get a slightly different version. Will be handed in online through Moodle, and hopefully you'll get some useful feedback that might help you at this thing. We haven't actually written down there. There's an exam at the end of the term as well.
Yeah, there is a final exam. We should talk about week 11 as well. So there's some public holidays with Easter, and depending on your lecture stream, you may have lectures in week 11.
But that'll be announced later.
That will be announced later.
Yeah.
Good. Where to get help?
Oh yes. So it's important actually to not
suffer alone.
Not suffer alone. Yes. So there's lots of help available. I mean, some of you have maybe formed some study groups with friends who are here, and that's great. But there's also help we provide formally in the school.
Yes. So the first port of call would be to go to the Moodle forums. There's staff who monitor those forums, and you can ask a question there, and someone, either other students or staff, will answer your question.
Yeah, if you want, jump in and answer other people's questions. That's a great way to learn yourself. Yeah.
And one thing I will mention about that is ask good questions. Don't just ask, what's the answer to this? Maybe when you're asking a question, make sure you say, this is what I tried, and thereby someone can come and actually help you with your problem, and rather than just shout the answer back at you and not really address that piece of understanding that you require. There's also the student drop-in centre. The Maths drop-in centre, Maths drop-in centre. That's
it'll probably start up in about week 2, and there'll be an announcement on Moodle showing you telling you where that is and the hours it operates. But that's sort of one-on-one help that you can get at any time.
So there's graduate students who just sit in a room waiting for you to come with your problems, and so you can talk to someone and actually have your questions answered. There's no fee. It's you just turn up with your questions.
Yeah. And there's also staff consultation hours. So all of the staff, the lecturing staff, and we'll have some hours that they advertise. That'll also be announced sort of maybe week 2, when you can come along and ask questions of them. Maybe we should have also mentioned the tutorial is a good place to ask questions. The weekly classroom tutorial. Your tutor will probably have things in mind that they want to go through, but if you get in there early and say, I'm really interested in this question, then the tutorial will be of more benefit to you. So make sure you prepare before your tutorial so that you have questions to ask in your tutorial.
Yeah, tutorials are a lovely place to ask questions. They're much smaller than the lectures. The lectures you'll find are enormous with hundreds of people in them, but the tutorial's much smaller, and you'll actually get be able to have a conversation with your tutor that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so have we covered everything?
Yes, we have. It's time to wish them good luck. And, bon voyage.
Well, good luck, and yes, there's actually a lot more to this course than this. You'll be getting into it in week 1, and enjoy.